Teachers, we are a special group of people, and not for the reasons that you might think. What I think is because we take our job seriously. And we do that because we know the impact that our work has on the lives of young people, not just while they're in our classroom, but many years after they leave. And I'm sure while I'm saying this, the name of a teacher came to your mind. You thought of that person, that lesson, that experience, that conversation that they had with you that shaped something about you and got you to where you are today. For me, that's my fifth grade teacher, Mrs. Gagnon. And if you're watching this, I thank you deeply from the bottom of my heart for everything that you did for me and for all of the students that you've served throughout your career. So thank you to you and all of the Mrs. Gagnons in the world. But it's this deep love and care that has led me to find one of the most, if not the most destructive mindset that teachers have. And it sounds something like this. Well, it's just one of those things. You work during the summer. Or, yeah, being a teacher, it's just expected that you're going to work a couple hours after school. Or you're going to come in extra hours in the morning. Or, yeah, it's just one of those things. You take papers home to grade them at night. If that is your mindset, then this video is for you. What I want to share with you is a method and a system that I have found to be really powerful and life changing, not just for myself, but for my students and for my family. So I get it. As a career educator, I have been in experiences where I'm teaching multiple different subjects in a school year with no preps and coaching and being a dad and a husband and the only income provider and moving all of the things. Like I want you to understand that I get it, that I've been where you are right now. And in a lot of ways, I still am. But what I want to share with you are some foundational principles to help you win your time back, to help set you up so that when you come into work, that you are ready to rock and roll and your students feel it and they know it and they love it. Okay. So we'll just jump in and get after it. So the first thing about what we want to do is we want to do a quick assessment and we want to know what is our current reality. Current reality. Okay? Current reality. The next thing, if you've been watching videos in this series that might sound pretty similar, but no surprise here, this is going to be AI. How does AI play into this? The second thing is we need to make an action plan. And you guessed it, fourth step is to execute. Okay. These are the four things that we want to do, not necessarily in order, but it helps if you do them in this order. Okay. So when I'm talking about our current reality, what I mean is doing a little self-inventory, doing a self-check of what are the things in your role as a teacher that are absolutely making it a grind or making you feel like you don't want to come in the next day because heaven knows we've all been there. Okay. So, what I want you to do is to get out a piece of paper, maybe a digital document, and make a list of a few things like this. So, for me, a lot of the time, the thing that just grinds my gears is grading. Okay, grading is a slog. Lesson planning. Okay, lesson planning. Oh man, previous video talked about UDL, making UDL lessons or differentiating lessons that I've already made. What else is, oh, this is a big one. Admin initiatives. They want me to do this and do that and do that. Here's another one that's probably in everybody's contract. Extra duties as assigned. That thing that's in absolutely everybody's teaching contract, those extra duties. So there's a lot of things happening. So the first step is to inventory what is going on. What are the things that are making it hard for you and causing that feeling of burnout? Is it the amount of lessons that you have to grade? Is it the wide range of subjects that you're teaching? Is it the class that you have that has a really insane high number of kids with IEPs or that are learning a language or whatever the case may be? Make that list. Write it all down. Put it somewhere. For the next step using AI, it would be really good to transfer this as a digital document. Okay, so make a digital document of all of the stuff, and be honest with yourself. I mean, don't try to sensationalize things to like really blow it out of perspective. Be real, be honest, be open about the things that are hard for you right now, and that's okay. That's really the kind of the first step of this whole process of winning our time back. Okay, so now let's go back over and we'll talk about AI. So, what is AI doing for us in this kind of a situation? Okay. I love the 3R model of or framework for interacting and using AI. And so we've got 3 R's, and this is how I'm using a chatbot. First, I'll say the two tools that I use and that I will always recommend are Google's Gemini and School AI. Okay, both of these are fantastic. They're doing wonderful things. Great plans for educators. Free versions that give you really all of the things that you would ever need with just those two. So awesome. Couldn't recommend them higher. So the first R when I'm talking to AI using an LLM, a language model, is to define a role. The second thing is to have the request. And then the third thing is the requirements. Okay, a role, a request, and requirements. I'm repeating these all over the place because they are a great way to just get the output that you want. There's a common phrase, garbage in, garbage out, that definitely applies to AI. So, what I mean by a role for this example is you are, let's see, you're an expert in time management and teacher burnout solutions. That's the robot that I want to talk to me about this problem. The next thing would be the request. The request would sound something like this: I want you to help me identify ways that I can minimize my stress levels. That's what I want you to do. Okay. And then the third thing, the requirements are you would just attach that document and say something like, use the following list of my duties and responsibilities that are causing me the most frustration. Or I want to make sure that I'm only using time during between 7 a.m. and 3 p.m. That's my contract time. Or something like, I don't want to do any work at home. Those are the requirements. So be really clear about here's who you are. You're an expert in time management and productivity. I want you to help me plan this out and identify patterns and trends or things from my list of stuff that bugs me. And then use that stuff that bugs me and that's hard for me and keep it within these boundaries of when I want to work and when I want to be available so that I can be free and not burnt out. And you're probably going to get something that is pretty spectacular right from the beginning. But there's a plus one R, the final fourth R. So I guess it's the 3 plus 1. But one more thing is just to refine it. Go back and say, well, that doesn't really fit, or I thought of another requirement. Try to fit within these boundaries and just go back and forth with these language models, these AI tools to help you understand. It really helps me to take a step outside of my mind and to think about other things that I may not have considered before. So AI is going to be really powerful. It's going to be especially powerful when we look at the next step. So I talked about this in a previous video, and I want to go into a bit more detail in this one, and that's when it comes to creating an action plan. So making an action plan is going to follow all of this. So we understand our current reality. Here are really the things that are hard for me right now. I've used AI to kind of break that down and to get an idea of what this action plan might look like. And now I actually need to put it into effect. But I need to understand what my constraints are. Okay, so there's a book that I'm going to highly recommend that you check out. I believe it's on Spotify. You could get it at your library. But the book is called Slow Productivity. Slow Productivity. The author is Cal Newport. Okay, Slow Productivity by Cal Newport. There are three basic principles in this book. The first one is do less. The second one is work at a natural pace. And the third thing is to obsess over quality. Um, okay, so we want to do less, we want to work at a natural pace, and we want to obsess over quality. At first glance, that probably sounds pretty awesome, but also sounds like, well, okay, what does that look like as a teacher? How do I actually do less? How do I actually work at a natural pace? What does that even mean? And then lastly, like, okay, quality, I can get that one. But those first two, how do we figure out how to do less stuff? Hopefully, when you've done your current reality and you've had that first initial conversation with the AI of your choosing, whether it's Gemini or School AI, hopefully you you now have a couple of ideas of things that you could be doing different or doing less of. For me, what usually comes back is something like for lesson planning or UDL, rather than trying to do UDL lessons for every lesson all the time. Maybe I'm not going to do every single one. Maybe I'm going to just pick one a week. So that's kind of cycling back to the previous video, where it's not every day and it's not every assignment. So narrow it down. You don't have to do it every day. You don't have to do it for every assignment, but do it for those foundational things. Maybe for lesson planning, you're going to use AI to help you out, or maybe you're going to get back to the basics. So um, do the basics first. I've called them the must knows. Okay, the must knows. And then outside of that would be the nice to knows. And then outside of that are those pet projects. Okay, breaking it down and making sure that I'm just focusing on the must knows, simplifying your curriculum, simplifying grading. Other things that are really helpful for this would be like blocking time. Block time. What I mean is that, well, here, we'll do this. So this is my day. This is my day, starts at 7 a.m. and goes till 3 p.m. I know that in the morning and afternoon, I don't have classes. There's about 30 minutes there. In these 30 minutes, what are things that I can do? Well, what I like to do in the morning is I'll spend a short amount of time, maybe 10 minutes or so, for email. And that's it. And then I let the day happen. Maybe I'll check at the end of class right before lunch. And so I'll do another little email check there. And then I'll do my classes. And then I'll only check my email again at the end of the day. So I'm only checking my email 3 times. And you might be surprised how much time that actually saves you if you batch things together. Rather than having your email open and just checking it every time new things come in, look at it twice a day, once, twice a day, maybe, just to stay apprised of what's going on. If you have those quick check ins, um, then it becomes easier. Oftentimes at my lunch check in, I don't respond to anything. I just kind of look and see what's come in so that by the end of the day, I know who I need to respond to and what I need to do. Okay. So those are things that you can do for planning to help you do less, just combining activities. The other way that I like to combine activities is inside my teaching time. So I teach at a high school where we have a block schedule of 90-minute classes, and that's really long. And I would argue that regardless of how long your class periods are, maybe you're in elementary school, middle school, high school, that your students, they don't need you, and they don't need you every single minute of that class period, and that it's actually good for them to have time on their own doing things that they want to do. They're working independently, use that time productively, effectively, be dedicated to this, and get some other stuff done. So for me, I've identified in my schedule, guaranteed the way that I structure my classes is I have 20 minutes minimum every single day that my students are working on something independently that I can get stuff done as well. A lot of us also have a chunk of time that is our prep period. So there we go. So we've got 30 minutes at the end, 30 minutes at the beginning, 20, 40, 60 minutes. That's 2 hours. And then if you have a prep period, however long that is, for me, it's 90 minutes. So that's 3.5 hours of time every single day to do stuff. That's that's pretty substantial. And when you look at that time, the next thing you'll do is you'll come back to AI and say, okay, here's my schedule. I have 30 minutes at the beginning and end of the day. I have 20 minutes of class time that I'm able to get some things done. And I have this planning period. Here's my time. Okay, so the role is you're expert at planning. The request is I want you to help build a schedule so I can prioritize things and get stuff done quickly. Here are the requirements. It's my time period, my timetable, and then have that conversation. Focusing on, and you can say, I want you to focus on the ideas in Cal Newport's book, Slow Productivity, of doing less, working at a natural pace, and obsessing over the quality. Fun fact, um, whatever AI you use has most likely heard of Cal Newport's book. So you might not even have to say much about it, but you could just say Cal Newport's book about slow productivity. These are the three things I want you to include in this plan, and I want to protect my time. Okay, so that's about the doing less. So using AI to look at where your time is actually being spent and just really be ruthless about sticking to that plan. And that's the part of the dedication that we'll talk about with the execution phase. Okay, so right now we're still building out our action plan. So what that means is I've identified these. This is what I'm doing in the morning. This is what I'm doing during these class periods. I'm not doing anything during lunch because I'm going to hang out with adults. This is what I'm doing during that class. My planning period, these are the things I'm going to get done. And I'm going to have a routine every day. And at the end of the day, this is it. And I'm going home. And that's all. Okay, I'm doing less. What that leads into is this idea of working at a natural pace. Most of the great thinkers of our time uh, did this in one form or another. You hear a classic story about Isaac Newton sitting under an apple tree and an apple falls on his head, or whatever the story is, and that's where he's like, huh, let's invent calculus. Now, that's definitely a simplified story, but really the truth of what that story is telling us is that he wasn't in his study writing math all the time, all year long. He was enjoying a break, hanging out in the outside and making observations and being curious. And what that did is it led to some pretty epic, groundbreaking mathematical discoveries that have shaped the way we understand how the world works. Huge, fantastically huge. So, for us as teachers, let's consider this. We put boundaries on our time. These boundaries are I'm only working between 7 a.m. and 3 p.m., and I'm taking a lunch break. But what happens between 3 p.m. and 7 a.m.? We are relaxing. We are doing things that we enjoy. We are spending time with our family. We're pursuing hobbies. What that does is it actually quiets down the prefrontal cortex, the decision making part of our brain, when we don't have those other things that we need to think about or focus on. And what that does is it allows things to actually settle in, and we can think more deeply and purposefully. And then additionally, when we come back at 7 in the morning, we're ready to rock and roll and show up for our students. Okay, so that's kind of the theme that we're trying to understand, is that doing less and working at this natural pace of cyclical times and seasons for things rather than making our brain just go, 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 go. Those two pieces alone are going to kind of lift that burden. When I'm thinking about this, like nothing bad can happen. It can only good happen. Is it going to take some time to understand our current reality and to develop this action plan? Yeah, it is. But the payoff is huge, super huge. And that leads to the very last part of Cal Newport's book, this idea of obsessing over the quality of our work. So when we are back at school, when we're here doing these things, we have to absolutely be diligent about, okay, this 30 minutes, these are the things that I have to get accomplished. This 90 minutes, I've got 20 minutes in here. I have to get these done and I have to do them well. The planning period, boom, 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 boom. I'm not scrolling on Instagram. I'm not doing other things. I am here making it happen for my students. I've had a good lunch. And then at the end of the day, it's kind of the cool down. And then we have our go home time. And then here is where it stops. We don't take anything home. And we have that the time to relax and sleep and wake up, and then we can do that again and we can show up. Here's something that is interesting. Um, it's something you've probably heard about. The idea is called Parkinson's law. And this happens for your students, and it happens for you. But the idea is that whatever time you give yourself to do a thing, that's exactly how long that thing generally is going to take. For example, if you give your students a project and say, okay, class, this project we are doing, you are going to have 3 days, 3 days to complete this project. So on day one, you need to do this. On day two, you need to do this. On day three, we're turning them in and doing a peer review or a presentation or whatever the case may be. The majority of your students are going to work on day one and day two and day three, and they're going to finish their projects. Now, there's still going to be some kids that maybe don't, and there's lots of reasons why they wouldn't, but for the most part, that's the due date and that's when it's going to be done. Here's the interesting though, and I'll challenge you to do this. Take a project that normally takes X amount of time and like cut it down by a third. So in this example, that would be like, okay, last year I gave them 3 days to do it and they finished. This year, I'm not going to give them that third day. I'm going to say, okay, students, you have 2 days, 2 days to finish this project. On day one, these are the things you need to get done. On day two, these are the things that need to get done, and we're turning them in or doing a peer review or presenting or something. You have these 2 days to do this project. And here is what's going to happen. On day two, the majority of your students are going to have that project finished. Now, some of them might choose to do homework. Some of them might choose to work more effectively in class. Some of them might choose to do both and finish in one day. But the reality is that the same thing is true for us. If we tell ourselves, okay, self, we have between 7 a.m. and 3 p.m. to get all of the things done that we need to get done. The reality is that if we stick to this, the things that are less important from our current reality are going to start to take a back seat. Maybe they'll get done less often, maybe they won't. But the things that don't have that big of an impact are going to become less important. They'll take less of our mind. If we're focused and rigid with how we want to plan and allocate our time, the reality is that we're going to get the job done when we give ourselves time to do that job. Now, this all is well and good and theoretical, and you might say, "Wow, that sounds great." Here's where the rubber meets the road. You've got to do it. Okay, you've got to execute. You have to just do it. And here's my favorite way to invite teachers to execute on this plan. A lot of times, it's pretty easy to come up with your current reality. And it's even easier to use AI to have a conversation about that current reality. It's easy to use AI to make an action plan. It's even easy to use AI to plan a schedule or to find ways that you can trim down and take some of these loads off. The actual hard thing is doing it when we've been in this pattern of like, well, it's just the way it is. We just come in early. We just take stuff home at night, and that's just the way it is. Or we just work over whatever it is, working over the summer. Um, but the best way to jump off and to get into it is by doing this. Okay. So for execute, here's Here's what I tell here's what I tell teachers all the time. Okay? You want to do this. Leave your computer at work. Okay? Leave your computer at work. Maybe you have a desktop and that's really easy. But this is an easy thing. If you have a laptop, many of us have a laptop, just close the lid at the end of the day and walk out of the building. Maybe your thing is grading papers at home. Here's the challenge. After you have made your action plan and you know how your schedule works, just leave the papers in the inbox. Leave them in the turn-in basket. They will be there when you get back. Um, and it's probably going to feel uncomfortable at the beginning. It's probably going to feel like, oh, I need to turn around and go back and get them. Maybe next time I'll do it, or I'll just grade them this one more time. The answer I would say is no. You've got to step off at some point. And here's what I can tell you is that when you are making choices on purpose about how you spend your time, when you are slowing things down and you're working at a natural pace, and when you're working, you're being really purposeful and digging into the quality of the work that you do and the quality of how you spend your time, it's going to get better. You're going to get back to work and you're going to think more creatively. You're going to use tools like artificial intelligence to speed the process up. And what will happen is that you'll be more excited to come to work. All of this is great, but the best part is that your students will notice. They will notice because you are able to show up for yourself. You're better able to show up for them. They're going to notice. They're going to feel more seen. They're going to understand that you care about them, that you see them. Chances are they're going to start coming to class more often. Chances are they're going to be more engaged with what you're doing just by taking care of yourself, just by simplifying. The reality is, if you're teaching in high school, secondary ed, your students are sitting at a desk for about 7 hours a day. They're just sitting there having stuff told to them over and over and over. And if you can be the break from that, imagine the difference that it makes for those students. If you can simplify what you're doing, if you can give them opportunities to move and to interact because you are able to be there for them because you're not burnt out, then that's what makes teaching magic. And that's how you stay in this job doing the thing that you love, that you are so good at, that you were born to do, and that you can change the lives of people and change them forever. Now, not saying that this is going to make us all get paid way more money. That definitely is not the solution to that. This is not going to be something that you can just do tomorrow. Unless this is like the 10th time you watch the video. In that case, you're ready. You can do it tomorrow. Um, but I just want to let you know that you got this, that you can totally make it happen. All right. If you've made it to the end of the video, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. It means so much to me that you made it this far because it tells me that what I was sharing with you was actually important. Important enough for you to stay. So I appreciate that. If you're interested in what I am sharing on this channel, consider subscribing for more about teaching, about best practices in using technology, things like artificial intelligence. I'm always happy to share. And yeah, no need to watch another video because this one was long. I guess unless you want to, then you can click the one that's on the screen. All right.